Hi, my name is Jesse Whitson. I'll be giving my presentation over a case study today for our William Woods class, EDU 503, Sports Law. So the case that I chose to discuss today came from Chapter 3 over risk management. The case that I decided to discuss involved an interesting topic that we dealt with in our last class over current issues. And so this case involves heat acclimatization. And the interesting thing about this case is that it takes place in 1966. So long before we knew, about heat acclimatization procedures and the importance of them. And so I thought it was good to look at that and see how things were handled back then as opposed to now. And so the court case is entitled Mogabgab versus Orleans Parish School Board. So in this case, Robert Mogabgab was a high school student on the football team. And so the second practice of the 1966 football season, they were at football practice, which began at 3:45, and about 5:20, the team began running wind sprints. During those wind sprints, Robert fell to the ground and was unable to get to his feet under his own power. And so he had to be helped off the field and to the school bus that they used to transport them to the practice field. During that walk to the school bus, two of his teammates were helping him. He was unable to hold himself up. He became nauseous and began vomiting, so he was showing early signs of heat-related illnesses. When the team arrived back at the school at approximately 5:40, Robert was laid on the ground of the cafeteria floor on a towel, and his teammates helped him to undress. In the meantime, the coaching staff was not attending to him at all. At about 5:50, Robert was helped into the shower by his teammates. He was showered, and he was placed back out on the towel. In the meantime, the coaching staff was just in the coaching office discussing practice and what had happened that day, and they were not really attending to him. One member of the coaching staff did attempt to help him by giving him an ammonia pill and covering him with a blanket. Keep in mind, this is a heat-related illness, and he's covering him up with a blanket, so that will come back in later. And they attempted to give him some salt water, which they believed helped with hydration back then. The first physician that actually saw Robert was Dr. Wisner, who was a parent of one of his teammates. And so Dr. Wisner examined him, saw his condition to be poor, and told the coaching staff that he needed to seek immediate medical attention. The head coach informed Dr. Wisner that he would handle the situation and call a school board member who would have a doctor from the neighborhood come over quickly. This all took place at about 6:40. So it's been over an hour now, and Robert still has not received any medical attention. At 6:45, Mrs. Mogabgab was aware of the situation, and she called the family doctor, Dr. Phillips, to come over and check on Robert. Dr. Phillips arrived at the school at 7:15. Robert's condition was poor, and he knew that they needed immediate medical attention. Dr. Birch, the doctor who lived in the neighborhood, arrived at 8 o'clock. By the time Dr. Birch got there to look at Robert, his condition had worsened and had become severe, and he advised that he be taken to the hospital immediately. Unfortunately, later that evening, he passed away at 2:30 a.m. So following Robert's unfortunate passing, the Mogabgabs decided to file suit against the Orleans School Parish for approximately $100,000, citing negligence on the half of the coaching staff, negligence of the duty to provide reasonable safeguards to prevent accidents and illnesses, and also failing to treat Robert promptly and appropriately. Again, I mentioned that they covered him with a blanket with a heat-related illness, which perpetuated the situation rather than helping it. Now, the school board countered and in their defense claimed that the parents had contributory negligence in this case because they knew of a pre-existing condition that Robert had regarding high blood pressure and a heart murmur. And in the lower court, the court actually ruled in favor of the defendants and dismissed the case that the plaintiffs had brought against them. So the case that I've informed you guys about is actually the appeal that got brought up. Now, when the lower court ruled in favor of the defendants, they did so because there was no proof that their inaction had caused his death. When the case went to the appeals court, however, they ended up ruling in favor of the Mogabgab family because the negligence of the coaching staff in actively denying Robert the medical care and attention that he needed for over 2 hours. Although it may not have caused his death, they did not give him the opportunity to see medical attention, which could have saved his life. Because of that negligence, they were found guilty, and the appeals court ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. The testimony of Dr. Birch in the appeals case is actually what helped the plaintiffs win. Dr. Birch basically explained that with heat-related illnesses, the sooner the action to help reverse the symptoms, the more likely it is to save the victim. It's like a boiling egg, basically. You can't see what's going on, but the wreckage is going on inside of the body, just like it is inside of a boiling egg. And so the sooner you act, the more likely you are to save them. And therefore, the inaction of the coaches led to Robert's symptoms being unable to be reversed, and therefore the appeals court ruled in favor of the Mogabgab family. Now, as far as the implications for an athletic and activities director regarding this case, I think it's obvious nowadays, because we have so much more information regarding heat acclimatization and heat-related illnesses, that we're going to handle this a whole lot better than they did in this situation back in 1966. However, this case does prove that our coaching staffs and training staffs need to be well educated on how to handle any heat-related illnesses when they see symptoms from any player. They should, act with extreme caution and make sure that they are handling these issues swiftly, because timing is of the essence in regards to these heat illnesses. Any type of pause on their part to act could hurt the victim's chances of surviving. The quicker they act, the better the chances they will have in order to survive the heat-related illness. And so the other thing that's on top of that is their coach's education. They have to know exactly how to act and what steps need to be taken in order to help the individual get better from their heat-related illness and stop any further damage to their body. So that's the biggest takeaway that I got from this, is the importance of the coach's education, ensuring that all members of the coaching staff and training staff are aware of the symptoms, what they look like, and how to act and treat properly and promptly in order to prevent these types of incidents from occurring.